Let's go ahead and understand how our statements are executed in Java. We have some things known as control statement. So otherwise, our Java code would sequentially run one after the other, right? But then we are able to change the course of that sequential execution, let's say using conditional statements or selection statements or iterative statements. So let's go ahead and look at some conditional statements. Conditional statements are just the ones which help us make a decision based on some condition. So here, let's say the person wants to go either this way or that way. So if a person feels that, let me think if I want to take the road less traveled. If yes, then I would just go towards this road. Let me think that no, I'm not up for any adventure. I just want to take a safe road. Then I would take this road. So how can we do that? So in Java, we have some things known as if statements. So let me just create a new file over here for conditional statements. So this is going to be our class conditional statements. So now we want to add public static void main. Instead of that, I can just write main and again do a control plus space. That is going to add our main method for us. So this is how we can include the main block as well. So let's take int a equal to 4 and again, int b equal to 6. I just want to check if a is equal to b, then I will say equal, otherwise I will say unequal. So if a equal to b, I will say sys out equal. Let's see what this outputs. So I'll just run it, run as Java application. And now it does not execute anything because A is actually not equal to B. So let me change the code now. And now you can see that the output is equal. So what if I just wanted to say that if this is not true, then do something else. So for that, we would use an if-else statement. Now after this else, I can simply write sys out and then, just type not equal. Now let me save this and run this. Now it says equal, but if I change the condition and if I run this, it will say not equal because A is actually not equal to B. So this is not true. So what happens is that whatever condition you give within the if statement, if that returns true, then if block will be executed, meaning anything within if would be executed. Otherwise, it would go into the else block and it would be executed. If we do not have any else block, then nothing will be executed. Then this if will not execute and that's it. What if I want to add further lines into it? We cannot just keep doing that. We have to actually add a block over here. So by adding a block of curly braces, I can now keep on writing other lines as well. Similarly for else, if we want to add multiple lines within else, we have to actually add a particular block. And if I save this and run this, you will see now the output is the same. Again, this condition can be, any complex condition which, can be combined using an AND operator. So if A is equal to B and B is equal to 5, I just want to check, that again, obviously it is going to print the else part. But let's say if A is not equal to B and B is not equal to 5, then it should, print this part just because, actually A is not equal to B and B is not equal to 5. So this is how the if-else block works. You have if condition and then you have a single statement or a block of statements and then you have else and then a single statement or a block of statement. If you want to keep adding if nested in this way, so you can just write else if A equal to 5, then print else if block. Else, which is actually going to execute, in case all of these if statements are not executed. This is the else block. Okay. Now I'll just change it to the if block. So when I execute this, as you can see, since this has come out to be true, this is executed. But if I just add another thing like and 0, that's it. Or and false. So now IDE itself says that this is dead code. Why? Because it definitely knows that what if it is false over here, this is definitely never going to execute. So if I just execute this, here it says that it comes to else block. Why? Because A is not equal to 5. If I just change this condition, then else if block is executed just because A is actually not equal to 5. So this is how if, else and else if works. Another way to actually avoid all of these different if statements, because what if I just wanted to check the values of A and B, and then based on that I wanted to print. So all of this is really a lot of work, right? So let me just remove this part of it and comment out all of this, and I'll introduce you to another statement which is known as the switch statement or the switch case. Okay, so what happens is in the switch statement is that we pass a particular variable to switch, let's say A in this case, and then it has various cases for the values of A. Let's say the value of A could be 0. In that case, the case 0 will executed, or the value of A could be 4. In that case, the case 4 is executed. We could have, multiple cases like this. So it can be a case 4, case 5, or it can be a default case as well, like nothing, just in case nothing is actually the value of A, which is matching with the value of this particular variable over here, then the default will execute. Okay, so if the value of A is 4, then I want to execute something. So I can just write sys out case 4. Or if the value of A is 5, I can just write to the console case 5. Or if it does not match anything, then I can just write, case default. Okay. Now here's an interesting thing. If A is equal to 4 and we know that it will match the value over here, it should print case 4, right? If I execute this, here case 4 is executed fine. But why is case 5 and case default also executed? I didn't want that. To avoid that, we actually have to add a keyword known as break. So what happens is that whatever statement is happening, this break keyword will actually break it. No brainer in that. So it is going to break it, and it's not going to allow it to actually execute in a waterfall fashion. I mean, it cannot keep on executing it just because the first case got matched to it. Let's say if there was no break over here and the value of A was actually 5, then if I execute it again, even though 5 got matched to it, still, the default case is executed. So we have to actually add a break over here. So let me now change the value of A to 4. Let me execute this. So now the case 4 is only executed and not case 5 and case default. Now remember, the variable which you pass over here, the data type of this case constants always have to match. So if it is A is integer, you cannot have a character 4 over here and expect that, this will match the case. So if I save this and execute, it actually did not match the case 4. It actually matched the case default. Why? Because the data types are different. And remember that these variables can only be either character or byte or short or int.